Coach Tate here. We're talking about mental health today. Now, this is a really tricky, sensitive subject. The words mental health, they get thrown around so much they kind of don't mean anything anymore in a lot of ways. Or there's a lot of stigma attached to it. If you're talking about mental health, it means you've got a problem. There's something wrong with you. And I think the first thing we need to address is that every single one of us have these things that we struggle with at one time or another in our life, okay? These are part of the system that we use to look at the world. And so when we say we have good mental health, what we're really saying is that we have a tool set that allows us to deal with the situations that we're coming across in a way that moves us toward the outcome that we desire, okay? It's about tools. If you are depressed, if you're anxious, you've got these problems going on, it's not that you're defective. It's that you are a human being trying to deal with a complex environment, okay? And it really just means you need some tools or you need some guidance, okay? It's not something that we need to be ashamed about. And I think that shame and guilt and just feeling that you're weak or something like that keep so many people suffering in silence. And so that's really the first thing that we need to address if we're going to have a real honest conversation about mental health. This has to be something where we can just relax and say, these are the things that we all deal with to some degree, and dealing with them does not make you any less human. Dealing with these makes you human, and there are ways that we can help you deal with them more effectively. Sometimes it's going to talk to somebody. Sometimes it's diet and exercise. Sometimes, it's more fresh air and sunshine. Sometimes it's action. Sometimes it's relaxation. Sometimes it's medication. This is just talking to somebody who cares. The main idea here, what the objective is, how do I solve this situation? What's the solution? And so, like I said, there's a lot of different tools that we can talk about to get there, but first we need to address that stigma. When I say we all struggle with it, I've struggled with it. I have people close to me that have struggled with it. I've had people very close to me attempt suicide. I had a good friend actually commit suicide, and a lot of acquaintances or old friends have, maybe not a lot, but they've gone that far too. And that, when we talk about suicide, like that's the end of the road, right? And it's really easy to, like, if you know somebody that has committed suicide, it's really easy to be angry with them. It's really easy to feel like it was a really selfish thing for them to do. And I think that that's one response, that it's a natural response. But it's a response that I think perpetuates that feeling that people can't go talk about it. They can't go and find that help. Because those people that do that, or those people that are thinking about that, it's coming from a place of pain. And like I help people with pain all the time. And people who are dealing with pain physically, it drives them crazy. If you're dealing with pain emotionally, that can drive you crazy. It's these stressors to your system. If you don't have the tools to deal with them and you can't escape, that's what drives those feelings. Okay, that's where a lot of anxiety and depression come from as well. And so, like I say, if you look at folks that wind up committing suicide and you back up a year, I don't have any statistics or anything, but I would say that a year back from that event, that person probably didn't have that on their radar. So often it's people that you'd never guess. It's people that you hear about it happening and it shocks you to your core. And the takeaway from that is that we all have the capacity for that. Just as we all have the capacity to be cruel, or to be dishonest, or to be loving, or to be strong. Like, all of those things are in us as humans. And it's important to acknowledge that. It's not something that happens quickly necessarily, right? These are things that, this is the boil the frog thing, right? It's these little patterns you get into, these little ways of looking at the situations that happen, and they just magnify and they build and build and build, and pretty soon you're doing things you never thought you'd ever do. Even going so far as to take your own life. So, where does that leave us? I think, like I say, we need to be able to have these conversations. We need to be able to talk to someone close and say, look, I'm struggling with this. I think you've dealt with something similar to this, right? What are some things that helped you? Right? We need to get tools. The tools are out there. There's a lot of incredible people that are doing incredible work in this area. And the more we can connect people with the resources they need, the more we can make sure they get the help that they need. So check in with your people. And you might have to ask twice, right? You ask somebody if they're okay, like knee-jerk response, like, yeah, I'm good, everything's okay. You let them finish, and then you ask again. And you might get a very different response. All right, I think that's a good place to stop. Stay strong, folks.